It's Father's Day. This is going to be fairly relaxed, but I figured I would just sort of talk about some of the books that I in some way share with my dad or kind of associate with my dad. My parents were really, really great in terms of encouraging me to read when I was young. They never denied me books. They were always having to find me more because I would just tear through them. And I definitely have some very fond memories of certain books that I associate with my dad from when I was younger. First one being the Tales of Dr. Seuss. There was a book I had called 6 by Seuss, and it just had 6 Dr. Seuss stories. The biggest one, obviously, out of them would be How the Grinch Stole Christmas. My dad would read it kind of like every year, and he would always imitate the cadence and kind of the extension of syllables that you get in the original animated TV film that I absolutely love, including singing the song, You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch.
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
And so I often associate kind of Dr. Seuss with my dad, especially How the Grinch Stole Christmas or The Lorax or 500 Hats of Bartholomew Cubbins, and to think that I saw it on Mulberry Street, all of the ones that were in there, especially with my dad. Charlotte's Web was the first book I read by E.B. White, and I actually had, I think, my dad's very battered old copy of it, to the point like pages were falling out, the covers tore off. I mean, this copy was an absolute mess. But I remember my dad reading it to me and really enjoying the story and the pictures that were in it, and he got me to also watch the animated film that's got like song numbers in it. And I definitely read some of the others by E.B. White. I read Stuart Little and The Trumpet of the Swan, but Charlotte's Web was the one I always liked the most, and it's the one that I associate with my dad. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. This is definitely one I associate with my dad as a kid, because obviously I love the film with Gene Wilder. But I remember when I saw it and I'd watched it with my dad, he said, oh, well, you know, the Oompa Loompas actually have like completely different songs in the book. And I was like, what? I was like, first off, it's a book. What? 2, what do you mean they don't have like those songs they sing?
Oompa loompa doompa-dee-doo, I've got a perfect puzzle for you.
That are so stupidly catchy. Like, they won't get stuck in your head. And he's like, no, they are actually these like really long kind of elaborate rhymes. And I was like, what? My dad always remembered the one for Augustus Gloop, which was Augustus Gloop, you big fat and greedy nincompoop. Like, go figure, he remembered that one, like always could recite those lines. So he read to me and my brother, he read us Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And I remember it was one of the first times I was listening to a kid's book, and I was just like, this is dark shit. Like, this is actually really disturbing when you read the Roald Dahl book. We never did read Wonka and the Great Glass Elevator, and I also read some of Roald Dahl's other books like The Witches and the BFG and a whole bunch of others, but Charlie and the Chocolate Factory specifically was one that my dad read to me and my younger brothers, and it's one that I always associate with my dad. Harry Potter. Now, in my family, my mom is the only one who has not read Harry Potter, and it took me years to get my dad to read Harry Potter. I mean, I just kind of gently nudged him for years, and obviously anytime a new book came out, I would demand my parents take me out to get it for me, and like they kind of understood this was my obsessive series when I was growing up. And it wasn't until the year that the final book was coming out, I remember my dad coming into my room. I must have been studying or something. He says, fine. He's like, give me that first freaking Harry Potter book, I'll read it. And it was for me very out of nowhere. And as my dad said, he was going on a business trip and he needed something to entertain him. This was really kind of before like iPads and all of these other things you could use to entertain yourself on like flights and such. And he figured I'd been nagging him for so long that so many people like these books, there's gotta be a reason people enjoy them, and across all ages. He was like, fine, I'll read them. And then I remember over the course of like X number of months leading up to the 7th book's release, watching the various books disappear in order off my shelf. And so that's how I knew my dad was still going, because all of a sudden I'd be like, oh, book 4 is not there. I'd be like, dad's reading book 4. And so that by the time book 7 came out, it was understood I was going to the midnight release, I was getting it, and I was going to read it. But when I was done, my dad had immediate dibs. He immediately was going to get to read it. So I finished it. And I remember my dad apparently was really disappointed because, I mean, I got it at midnight and I planned on trying to stay up and read the whole thing. I passed out around like 4 o'clock in the morning after reading for just 4 hours straight, and I had a couple hundred pages left. I am a fast reader. I know that's obnoxious. And he was really annoyed that I wasn't done because I'd marked my page. And so he had to wait because then I got up at like noon or whatever, and then I finished it. And I was like, all right, I'm done. And he's like, you don't get to say anything. Like, I don't even want reactions. Just, and then he took it and went on a business trip with it. And so I was still in that kind of like early stages of the post-Potter depression where you're just sort of in shock and not ready to accept that you're not getting any more and that it's over, but you still have all the emotions from the ending. And I'd only read the book once, so I was still trying to process all of that. And then I didn't have the book because he took it with him on a business trip. And then he was updating me on where he was in the book by sending me emails, except he would put all the information he needed to tell me in the subject of the email. He wouldn't actually put anything in the body of the email. I think he just figured he didn't want to bother with writing a subject, and so wrote everything in there. And I was like, why didn't you just send it without a subject and just write everything in the body of the email? But who knows? So the only other really big series that I just kind of latch on and go, this is something that I share with my dad, is the Red Rising series. This is one of those where, again, I recommended it to him, though it took a lot less convincing to get him to read these books. By the time I was recommending these to my dad, I'd sort of figured out what my dad does or doesn't like. Sometimes he surprises me where I'm not honestly sure whether he's gonna like something and he'll end up liking it. In this case, I knew this was something my dad would like because it's a really good story, it's written really well, and as a bonus, the reader for the audiobook is just so good. I will never not sing the praises of Tim Jared Reynolds, who I just shortened to TGR. I'm just like, TGR, audiobook king. It's so good. I recommended this to my dad, I think, right after Golden Son had released. He knew I was into the series only because I actually got a digital arc of Golden Son, and so I was reading it. And if you've read Golden Son, you know there was a reason why when I finished, I swore very loudly, woke up my dog, who's deaf. That's how loud I swore, and wanted to fling my Kindle at the wall. I was just like, I'm in a glass case of emotion and was unprepared for what just happened. And he knew that I'd read this book that I'd recommended, I'd sort of mentioned before, called Red Rising. And so when Golden Son released, I got the audiobook, and so I was re-listening to it, and I was like, God, it is so good. And my dad, I think, had come down and heard part of the audiobook because I had it on speaker, and so he could hear it. He goes, what's that? I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, it's a series. The first 2 books are out. You have to listen to these. They're in my Audible still. And he goes, you think I'll like them? I said, take like Count of Monte Cristo meets kind of like Game of Thrones on like a future Mars, but it's kind of like also ancient Rome. I said, it's a really good story. I kind of had him at Count of Monte Cristo because that's another book that we both really love. And in terms of the audiobook, I definitely associate the audiobook with my dad. And so I knew if like, kind of like, there are elements of this, you will really like it. And so he listened, and he was so into it. I mean, he kept coming and goes, oh my God, he's listening to the first one. He goes, it's this amazing like spy story. He's like an undercover spy, which I went, I'd never actually thought of that, but yeah, he kind of is. And then when he was going through Golden Son, he was like, whoa, it just got way more intense. And we were both just like, hype, wait for Morningstar. The moment I had that in my Audible, I was like, I've got it, you've got to listen. I didn't say anything, I had to wait for his reactions, and we're now very hyped for Iron Gold. But it's just one of those things I share with my dad because it's to the point where you might recall, if you've watched me before, I showed off a shirt that I bought that had a design on it for the Helldivers of Lycos, and I love this shirt. It's like super comfortable and also super awesome. And I came in wearing it one day, and my dad saw it and was like, that shirt is amazing. So coincidentally, for Father's Day last year, I bought him a matching version, like his own version of that shirt. So we both have our Helldivers shirts. We are definitely a Howler family. Well, we're a Howler father-daughter team because nobody else has read those books. But yes, so happy Father's Day 2017. Share books with your dad. It can be a wonderful experience. Thanks for watching me ramble today. If you'd like to see more from me, go ahead and click that button with my face on it. It'll take you to my channel where I ramble about a whole lot of different things. Got some thoughts of your own? Go ahead and leave them down in the comments. And make sure that if you want to see more ramblings from me, you click that little subscribe button. That's it for me today, you guys, so until next time. Cheers.